gorgeous tree-lined thoroughfare is Broadway. You may not know it, but Broadway represents an original idea, a model town for the well-to-do of Winnipeg at the turn of the 20th century. When Manitoba was poised to enter Confederation, the Hudson's Bay Company transferred its vast land holdings to the Dominion of Canada. However, the newly confederated Canadian government allowed the HBC to retain a 500-acre property adjacent to Upper Fort Garry. This property, it was envisioned, would become a separate, upscale community, providing Winnipeg's more successful citizens with a neighborhood apart from the building boom occurring to the north along Main Street. The thousands of newcomers to the city couldn't begin to afford the high-priced lots in the special district. Many settled in the West End. Immigrants from Eastern Europe tended to congregate in Winnipeg's North End. The area for the model town stretched from Portage, east to Main Street, south to the Assiniboine River, and west to Kennedy Street. The HBC had traditionally granted lots to their retired company servants that ran in narrow strips away from the riverbanks. The new neighborhood would feature family-friendly lots, 120 by 50 feet in size, along broad streets with back lanes. A prominent feature of the model city was an expansive, tree-lined boulevard titled Broadway. Mansions began to be built along the boulevard and the cross streets, many of which still stand today. By the early 1900s, Broadway was the most fashionable residential district in Winnipeg. It became the home of many wealthy businessmen, including hardware mogul James H. Ashdown, who built a luxurious 3-story home with a tower. Former Premier Hugh John Macdonald, the son of Sir John A. Macdonald, and his extroverted wife Gertie, built Dalmaver, which still stands today. It was one of the first residential homes in Winnipeg to include indoor plumbing, electric lighting, central hot water heating, and many of the latest modern conveniences. The east end of Broadway still features Union Station, built in 1911 and modeled after New York City's Grand Central Station. In fact, Union Station was designed by Warren and Wetmore, the architects responsible for New York's famous landmark. And of course, the west end of Broadway's original planned neighborhood features the Manitoba Legislative Building, which was completed in 1920. Construction had begun in 1913. However, progress was slowed with the onset of World War I. Between 1911 and 1913, Broadway was enhanced with the building of the city's first skyscraper, the Hotel Fort Garry. The president of the Grand Trunk Pacific Railway, Charles N. Hayes, had a vision to build impressive hotels in major cities along the GTP rail routes. Although originally to be named the Selkirk, ultimately the Grand Hotel was named to honor the old fort, which was largely demolished in 1881. President Hayes was a victim of the Titanic in 1912 and was not alive to see the completion of this prairie masterpiece. Sir Donald Smith, then commissioner of the Hudson's Bay Company, envisioned Broadway as a luxury residential community. It was developed with stately tree-lined boulevards and large family lots. When James Ashdown moved out of the neighborhood to Wellington Crescent across the river, other fashionable families followed, and a new, even more upscale community was born. Today, Broadway bustles with activity, government and businesses, restaurants and hot dog carts, and tons of pedestrian activity, especially in the summer. For Street Tales, I'm Denise Mayer.